All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the District 44 2026 Little League Rules Clinic. This is night one. There will be two nights. We'll be back on in the same place tomorrow night, and we'll be recording both nights. We're going to be covering different materials on each night, but we want to welcome you, and we're just admitting more people. Your instructors are me, Mark Teagle. I'm the district umpire in chief for District 44. And I'm joined tonight by Jim Molaris, who's a District 44 staff umpire who also umpires at the collegiate and high school levels. And we're going to take you through the Little League
कौन
rule
सा
book
दिया था
with
फिर
an emphasis
ब्रेकफास्ट।
on all of this. I'm going to ask everyone to please mute their audio. Thank you. And we have some instructions for you. Um, but what we're going to be talking about tonight are there are three aspects of umpiring: the rules knowledge, the mechanics, and game management. Tonight, we're focusing on the rules, what's in the rule book. We'll also touch on a little bit on game management, things to be doing. We've finished our four umpire clinics, mechanics clinics, where we showed our students the basics of calling balls and strikes behind the plate and also making calls on the bases. But tonight the focus is on the rules. And obviously, we're going to hit as many as we can in the time that we have, but we're not going to get everything. We'll recommend getting the app from Little League, so you can go to the Apple Store, to the App Store, or to Google Play, and it is free, both of those places. It automatically updates every year with new things, but we're going to focus the next hour and a half tonight and another hour and a half tomorrow night on the rules. If you have a question, we ask you to put it in the chat, and we will be monitoring that tonight. And just ask everyone to make sure that they're muted. I see a bunch of folks that are not currently muted, and we really want to make sure we don't have the distractions. Our goals for tonight: educate new umpires. We want to refresh experienced umpires. If you've already been to a rules clinic, guess what? There are new rules, and it just is good to get refreshed for the new season. So you have those all top of mind. We also are providing a resource for managers, coaches, and parents so that they can understand the game. Managers, so they know best how to manage their team and help them. But ultimately, managers and coaches can aspire to become umpires someday, and get stop being those managers and coaches and come to the 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 light side of the force here and get you out there. I'm kidding, of course, but we love to have managers and coaches come out and parents and become umpires. We're always
It's
looking for
overtime.
more umpires, so we're going to there. So Zoom meeting protocols for us tonight. Um, Keep your camera off so that we're not using as much bandwidth. We're going to have a lot of videos and we want those to have good quality. And you should all be on mute. You can put questions into the chat and we will be monitoring that. And some of the questions we'll bring into the discussion. Um, and then we're also going to have some scenarios where we're going to ask you to vote. And so try to participate in that. It just keeps the meeting moving. There'll be a way to do that within Zoom. All right, so let's keep moving. Here is the rule book breakdown. When you look at it as the app or the paper rule book, there are a bunch of regulations. We see Regulation 6, Regulation 14. Those are ones that have to do with what's happening on the field of play. So we're going to focus on those tonight. There's a lot of other regulations that have to do with the choice of players and formation of teams and those kinds of things. We're not going to focus on those. This is for the umpires mainly, but there's just to be aware there's a lot of other regulations that are out there. Starting with rule one, we have the our can we go back there? Just objectives of the game, two definitions, game preliminaries, starting and ending the game, putting the ball in play, then the batter, the runner, the pitcher, and rule number nine, of course, the most important rule of all. All right. And in rule number nine, all judgment calls are final. Balls, strikes, fair fall, safe, out, right? We are not asking people to question those. Um, they can, however, appeal an illegal interpretation of any rule. So that you can protest, and there is a procedure for doing that. We're going to talk about that. A call can be reversed based on the umpire's interpretation of a rule, but also an umpire cannot overrule another umpire. So they don't have to. The manager comes to them, hey, can you get help on that? The umpire can say, no, I had a perfectly good view. I got it. I don't need to get help. However, if the umpire was blocked out, or maybe there was something that he didn't see that somebody else saw, then they can confer with another umpire. But it's the umpire who made the original call that is going to make the final call on that. So just bear that in mind. Those are principles that we put across for all of the game, and that's found there in rule number nine. So we're going to talk about updates for 2026, and there's not a lot this year, but the Little League has reversed themselves on the use of pine tar. So you may apply pine tar to the handle or the grip of the bat, but it can't go on the barrel or the taper. So just kind of that where the tape is on the bat, and that pine tar cannot cover the logo or the approval, the USA Baseball, or for high school bats, the BB Core stamp. So if you have a bat that has got way too much pine tar on it, we're going to remove that from the game, going to warn the player, but we're not going to call any outs or anything like that. It's just an improper bat. It's different than an illegal bat, which is the rule book covers that. But when we discover that, okay, there's a bat with too much pine tar on it, we're going to remove that bat, but everything that was done with that bat prior to that remains legal, and all that's going to stand. So bat alterations that actually go on the bat, so some kind of an addition like a choke knob or something that is on the bat or something around the end of the handle, those are still not allowed. But something that is worn on the hand, like a thumb protector, that is now legal. Last year it was not legal. This year it is legal. Little League just had a change of heart about those things. So just to clarify that, if you have any questions, you can look that up in the rule book. But basically, if it goes on the bat, it's not part of the actual bat. It's illegal. If it goes on your hand or glove, it is going to be legal. All right. So just a reminder to everyone, please mute and mute both your camera and your microphone. All right. Continuing on, we have a little clarification of who should be the courtesy runner for the pitcher and the catcher if you are going to run for both of them. So whoever's closest to scoring gets the person who made the the last two outs, and the one that's going to bat soonest is placed on the base closest to scoring. So there's an example there, but that just you can courtesy run for the pitcher and or the catcher of record if they're on base with two outs in the game. And so that just clarifies it. And there's a clarification about injured, ill, rejected players. Um, you want to use the person who made the last out, the person who it's going to be the longest before they come up to bat again to run for somebody who is injured, ill, or ejected. So that just clarifies it. It's what we've been doing anyway, but now it's really spelled out in the rules. All right, going to turn it over to my partner, Jim Molaris, to talk about bats.
Yeah. So bats, for the most part, have not changed for a while. Um, Non-wood and laminated bats have to bear the USA baseball logo. That means it meets the USA bat standard. One-piece wood barrel bats don't require this logo. If you have a hybrid wood bat that has a wood barrel and a composite handle, then it does need to have that stamp. Uh, The diameter can't be more than 2 5/8 inches. That's been around for a while. The length, majors and below, 33 inches is the longest bat that can be used. And intermediate and juniors, they can use 34-inch bats. Uh, Pine tar. Mark already mentioned pine tar. The rules have changed around that. It's legal on the handle, but it is not legal on the taper or the barrel. And the picture to the right shows a bat that has pine tar on the taper. And if you have a question about, well, where's the taper start and where's the handle end? If you just take the bat and lay it across, with the knob at one side of the home plate and lay it across, you pretty much that width of the home plate is the handle. Anything pine tar above that, you shouldn't have on the bat. And the choke knobs and choke assist, they're considered alterations to the bat and they continue to be illegal. Batting helmets. There should be no cracks. They shouldn't be painted. Decals are okay. They just can't be offensive or excessive. I've seen some helmets with big pieces of duct tape on them. That's too big. We'll see some examples of appropriate stickering in a moment. The padding should be properly attached. It shouldn't be missing. It shouldn't be damaged, and it shouldn't be held on by tapes. Oftentimes, you'll see helmets with tape in the ear hole, holding the padding on. That's not a legal helmet. It's damaged. The jaw guard, it's okay as long as the helmet and the flap are from the same manufacturer. And this gets complicated if they're from different manufacturers. You need a letter okaying it from the helmet manufacturer. Um, the helmet that just popped up down below, you can see that that's got appropriate stickers. It's got a lot of stickers on it, but they are appropriate size stickers. And helmets should not be mirror-like, which would be distracting to the defense in the pitcher. Catcher's helmets, same thing, no cracks, no decals on the catcher's helmet, and no paint. Just straight from how it came from the manufacturer. Once again, the padding needs to be properly attached. Can't be missing, can't be damaged, and can't be held on by tape. The cage can't be cracked or bent. And the screws need to be securely attached. By the way, the rule on the use of proper equipment, that was changed. Umpires do not do equipment checks anymore. So this is all on the coaches to make sure that this gear is up to these standards. However, if you're an umpire and you pick up a catcher's helmet, maybe they dropped it because of a foul ball, and you see that the screws are a little loose. Stop the game, have that catcher get another helmet until the screws can be properly attached on the helmet he was using. Key thing about Little League that's different than pretty much every other form of baseball is the dangling throat guard is required. The hockey style mask does have a throat guard, That by itself is not sufficient, though. It needs to have the dangling type of throat guard. Skull caps are not permitted. You pretty much have to use the hockey style mask in Little League Baseball at all levels. So some examples, the helmet A doesn't have the dangling throat protector, so that's not legal. If you see a catcher walk up to the plate with that, and I'll see that early in this season quite often, you just don't let them even take a warm-up pitch with that. They have to go get a legal helmet. The skull cap and mask combos are illegal in Little League. Now, Catcher C does have a legal helmet and dangler, but me personally, I'm going to not let him use that until that is attached properly. It's dangling too far. It's not providing any protection. A ball can still get up underneath that into his throat. And number D is or letter D is the best. You can see it's a nice tight fit between the dangler and the bottom of the catcher's helmet. The catchers need to be using their helmets pretty much every time that they're in the game, whenever they're warming up the pitcher, and whenever there's any of that infield practice, infield outfield practice before the game. So if you are an umpire and you're checking in or you're headed over to the equipment room to get your gear on, take a glance at the field. And if you see the catcher that's helping his coach, and the catcher does not have his helmet on, stop and tell them to get that helmet on. Okay. Now we're going to talk about pitchers and pitching and the attire. The undersleeves, including the compression sleeves, if they're showing, they have to be a solid color. They cannot be white or gray. There should be no items on the hands and the wrists, such as sweatbands or tape, other than the play calling card. That, by the way, needs to be on the non-throwing hand. So it needs to be on the glove hand, the playing card. And it should be a solid color. It cannot be white or gray, the play calling card. The sleeves, they should be approximately the same length. And the pitcher's glove, it may not, exclusive of the piping, be white or gray, or in the judgment of the umpire, distracting in any manner. I've seen some neon orange gloves that are pretty distracting, and I've not allowed some of those to be used at times. Batting gloves, if they're underneath the fielding glove on the pitcher, they cannot be white or gray or optic yellow. Now, what is a pitch? Well, it's a baseball delivered to the batter by the pitcher. Uh, we also count pitches in Little League. Uh, Including not just those that are thrown, but an illegal pitch. The ball's not thrown on an illegal pitch, and an intentional walk, the verbal intentional walk. The four balls, any number of balls that are added to the existing pitch count to put that batter on base need to be added to the pitcher's pitch count. So let's say the count is 2-0. Coach can't say, yeah, I want to put him on. You make sure that the scorekeeper knows to add two pitches to the pitcher's pitch count and award that batter first base. There are limits on when people can move from catcher to pitcher and pitcher to catcher. A player cannot play the position of catcher for four or more innings and be eligible to pitch on the same day. And that's if you catch one pitch in the fourth inning, that makes you ineligible to pitch. It does need to be the complete fourth inning, just one pitch in the fourth inning, and you're ineligible to pitch that day. Or If they move to the pitcher and deliver 21 pitches or more in the same day, they cannot return to play catcher in the same day. So they caught for 3 innings, they even caught for two, and they move to pitcher, pitch 20 pitches, they can return to catcher. But if they go to 21, there is an exception. If they're facing the batter in the middle of that count, they start with less than 20 pitches on that batter, then they have an exception. They can return to the catcher position. Now, pitcher is moving to catcher. If a pitcher reaches the 40 pitches, he or she may not play the position of catcher that game unless covered by an exception. And that exception is if the pitcher reaches 40 pitches while facing a batter. That means they need to start that batter with 39 pitches or less. If they reach 40 while facing that batter, they may continue to pitch and maintain their eligibility to play the position of catcher for the remainder of that day until that batter reaches the base or is retired, or it's the third out of the inning is recorded, or the pitcher is replaced prior to the batter completing their at bat. All right, visits. There are limits to how many times a coach can go out and visit the defense. Now, the defense, I say defense because they can talk to any member of the defense. It's usually the pitcher, but it doesn't have to be the pitcher. In majors, they're allowed to visit their one defensive visit once per inning. The second time they come out in that same inning with the same pitcher on the mound, that pitcher needs to be removed. And in majors, they have two visits per pitcher in the game. The third time that they come out to visit that pitcher needs to be removed. Minors is very similar, but just add one to all of those counts. If there is an injury, that is not a timeout. You as an umpire need to escort or be in the vicinity so you can overhear the conversation that's happening between the coach and an injured player. You need to intervene if the coach starts to talk about defense and defensive strategy with any of the players while he's out there on an injury visit. Some other pitching limitations. A pitcher, once removed from the mound, they cannot return as a pitcher. Uh, the manager must remove the pitcher when the pitcher reaches their pitch count. Uh, you can look at the rule book for all the pitch limits, plus the number of days of rest. You as an umpire don't need to know this. It's good if you do know it. The coach does need to know it, though. There is an exception, of course, if somebody's facing a batter uh, before they've hit their limit, they start a new batter. They can complete that at bat with that batter uh, and still be eligible. They haven't exceeded their pitch limits. And intermediate and below, a pitcher may not pitch in more than one game in a day. Okay. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Mark. He's going to talk about batting.
Yep, and just one note about those pitching limits. So, as the plate umpire, you are tracking all of that on your lineup card. You're keeping track. You tell the managers, I need to know when you change pitchers and when you change catchers. And when you see a new pitcher coming in, check to make sure he wasn't the catcher. If he was, that he didn't meet those limits. So that's something you can be tracking and you can be talking to the scorekeeper, the person doing game changer. Oftentimes, our game changer people are just kind of learning how to do that. And so you need to be on top of it, aware of that conversation to prevent a pitcher throwing when they're not eligible to, and that's just preventive umpiring. All right,
Oh,
we're going to talk about batting.
you're really throwing food away?
So, we're going to
Yes, sir.
ask. All right. So continuing on with batting. And so the mandatory play, or we could say minimum play. So in order for the at bat of that batter to meet the requirement for minimum play, they need to have a complete at bat. So in a situation where maybe you discovered halfway through an at bat that you had the wrong person up and they inherit a count from somebody, that doesn't satisfy what they need for their mandatory play. With continuous batting order, this is not so much of a question. Everybody should be getting their mandatory play of the one at bat and their 2 innings on defense. But in bat nine batting order, you cannot pull somebody out for their substitute until they have met their mandatory play. And so we want them to complete that at bat. Um, and but in the continuous batting order, a player can be pulled once they get on base. So that is a little bit of an exception. So in a bat nine, a participant must they must participate for 6 defensive outs before they can be substituted for. We usually call that just 2 innings, but it doesn't have to be exactly lined up with innings. Um, so that means that it's not till the bottom of the second that subs can come in a bat nine situation. And but we don't have the batting nine very often. It is in seniors. It's a league option at other levels. It's not allowed in minors. Minors, we have to have continuous batting order. So just to be aware of that, of them meeting their minimum play before they can be removed or have somebody re-enter for them.
And Mark, before we go on, Nelson had a question about the what is the minor pitch limit? My response in the chat was it's age dependent. So go to the Little League Rules app and look it up in the Little League Rules app because it's not minors versus majors versus intermediate. It's age dependent for the pitch count.
Yep. And for 10-year-olds, it's 75. For 12-year-olds, it's uh, 85. And for 13 and up, it's 95. So for that maximum, but there's thresholds throughout that have required days of rest. So it's just be good to be familiar with that. But it's the manager's responsibility to make sure that their pitchers are removed when they need to be removed.
All right.
And so in a continuous batting order, the defense has to participate for 6 defensive outs during the game. Those do not have to be
Thank you.
consecutive in continuous batting order. So as long as they get a total of 6 defensive outs in the game, there is free substitution on defense. Everybody's in the batting order. Everyone's considered a starter as far as that goes for continuous batting order. It's up to the manager to make sure that kids get their playing time. And the best monitors for that are the parents who say, hey, little Jimmy didn't play enough. Um, but there are punishments in the rules that are at the board level for managers who are not playing their players enough. It's up to the manager. All right. For most of our levels of play, we're going to be dealing with continuous batting order, and it's required in minors, optional at all levels. It is in the All-Stars tournament is mandatory for every level except for seniors. And so we're going to see that for the most part. Everybody's a starter, as I said, and you have to play 6 defensive outs. You may be entered, re-entered at any time, but a good manager is going to get their kids their playing time. If somebody is injured or becomes ill, or if they have to leave early, then we just skip their time at bat. There's no penalty. And if it's in the middle of a plate appearance, the next batter will assume their count. But otherwise, we just skip over their spot and keep going. if they return or if an injured player is recovered enough to re-enter the game, they're put back into their original spot in the batting order. And late players, if they're not at the game site at the time of the beginning of the game, they get added to the end of the batting order. So if they're not there at the beginning, you can't save a spot for them. You know, if your best hitter, you want him to hit bat cleanup and he's not there at the beginning of the game, he's going to get added to the 12th, 13th, 14th spot in the batting order. If you have somebody who's injured while running the bases, you're going to substitute with that player who made the last out. And that was clarified in the rule update for this year. There's also a courtesy runner for the pitcher and or the catcher with two outs. And that was clarified whoever made the last out or the last outs, because you can replace both the catcher and the pitcher, but that has to be done with two outs. The purpose of that rule is to give the pitcher a little bit of rest, get the catcher getting his gear on, her gear on, to make sure that we can do the changeover a little more quickly. We don't have special pinch runner when we have continuous batting order because it has to a special pinch runner is somebody who is not currently in the lineup, and in continuous batting order, everybody's in the lineup. So for offensive timeouts, this is kind of the mirror of what Jim talked about with the trips to the mound, defensive timeouts, and the limit is one timeout per half inning. And if they want a second one, they said, sorry, manager or coach, you already used your offensive timeout. And you have to be mindful that the managers like to talk to their players as they're walking up. If they're slowing them down at all, you can say, hey, coach, is this your offensive timeout? And they say, oh, no, they'll stop talking. But the other part of this is that anytime one team has a charged timeout to either offense or defense, the other team can conference with their players without penalty unless it goes beyond what the other team uses. If they want to go longer, then you're going to charge them with their timeout. But as long as they confine it to the time that the other team is talking, then we don't want to charge them for that. So it's kind of a just be aware of balancing that out. All right, we're going to talk about where your feet go. The batter's box is there to begin the at bat. The feet of the batter need to be within the batter's box, and that includes the line. So, like foot number 3 is the toe is on the line, but not over it. So that is legal. But number 1, number 2, those are not legal batting positions. All right. You want to start there, and then as the batter swings, that can change, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But if the feet of the batter are outside the box, we stop the game and put them back in the batter's box to make sure that they're, it's a way of keeping things fair for both sides. So look at that upper left-hand corner picture. And the inside line has been wiped away by the game, but that batter is right on top of the plate, and they're taking away the inside. And so that umpire should be moving him back. Majors and below, 4 inches from the plate, and starting with intermediate needs to be 6 inches. And so that is creating an unfair advantage for the batter. Needs to be corrected.
Yeah. Yes.
And now, when swinging, if you step completely outside the box and have one foot down the ground outside the box, that is going to be an out. And but if the part of the foot is still on the line, then they're okay. It has to be on the ground, completely outside of the box, and you have to make contact with the ball, hitting it fair or foul, and then you can get the out. If they step outside the box and miss the ball, well, they dodged a bullet, kind of. Um, and so it doesn't matter if they're on the plate. If that batter's heel was on the line, he would still be legal. But in this case, he's going to be called out for hitting the ball while his foot is on the ground, completely outside the batter's box. If your foot is still up in the air and hasn't come down yet when you make contact, you're still legal. All right. It has to be on the ground as you hit the ball. All right. We're going to do a definition of a bunt. And this is important because there are some rules that a bunted ball is an exception for certain rules. So you don't swing at it. You intentionally meet it. It's tapped slowly. And just holding your bat in the strike zone doesn't mean that it's an attempted bunt. You hear people say, pull it back, pull it back. Well, if that pitch isn't in the strike zone and you're holding that bat there, that is not in itself a strike. You have to actually offer at the pitch. You have to move that bat toward the pitch. If you bunt foul with two strikes, that is a strikeout. So that is an out. And if it is an infield fly situation, but it was a bunt rather than a swing, you cannot call the infield fly on a bunt attempt. So important to know. Definition of a ball: does not enter the strike zone in flight, is not
Hi.
swung at, and if the pitch bounces, if a batter's hit by a pitch that bounced, just by it bouncing doesn't mean it. I mean, it still can be a hit by a pitch. You can still hit a ball that bounces off the ground to put it in play or hit it fair or foul. And if the ball bounces before it gets to the catcher, that is already a third strike not caught if it is swung at. All right. So we'll talk about the third pitch not or third strike not caught a little bit later. But basically, if it's not a strike, it's a ball.
Uh, Eli asked, can players show bunt and then pull back and swing through? As much as I'd like to see that be eliminated in Little League Baseball, it is legal in Little League Baseball unless there's a league rule that prohibits it.
Yeah, and many leagues have a local rule that prevents slash bunting, which is what that is called. But just being mindful that at TOC and All Stars, local rules disappear, and that becomes legal no matter what league you're at. But be aware of the local league rules, and you can ask your president and your umpire in chief about the local rules. All right. And continuing on, and there's an intentional walk. And up in the corner, you see the reference for these rules. Jim has put them in the slides, so you can always be looking them up. But at in Little League, we can have a verbal intentional walk. Or was I getting ahead? No, where'd it go?
Uh,
Intentional walk. So you can, the manager could call timeout. Usually they just hold up four fingers, which means they want to put him on. And it can be done before a pitch is thrown, or it can be done anytime during the at bat. Maybe the pitcher gets behind and they don't want to risk having one go right down the middle. So they say, hey, just put him on. Um, the runners don't advance unless forced on that walk. Um, and you give all the pitches that weren't thrown to get up to four balls are added to the pitch count. So if they haven't thrown any pitches, it's going to be four, or it can be three, could be two, could be one, all of that. But an important distinction here is that the player can only be verbally intentionally walked once per game, but they still can put him on base by throwing 4 pitches outside the strike zone. So it's just a little more risky. And so, but that is a great tool to keep the game moving and not have to risk throwing those wild pitches or anything like that. So that's an intentional walk that's available. All right, we love strikes, so let's talk about them. It has to be a legal pitch, and if it's a ball that is struck at and missed, that's also a strike. If the ball comes through the strike zone in flight, any part of the ball through any part of the strike zone, that can be called a strike, umpire judgment. If it's batted foul for strike one or strike two, then it is a strike. If it's batted foul for strike three, then it stays strike two. Bunted foul, that can be for strike one, two, or three. Um, if a batter leans or is swinging at a pitch that is in the strike zone and it hits them, that can be a dead ball strike. So you would call time, but it is a strike. And if even if he doesn't swing at it, if it hits him or her while they're in the strike zone, that is a strike. And the final example is a foul tip, and that is a ball that goes sharp and direct from the bat into the catcher's hand or glove and is caught. Then that remains a live ball and is a strike. So those are all the ways that you can have strikes. Now, I'm going to talk about the strike zone, and you see that little imaginary box, very similar to what you see on broadcasts, except this has 3 dimensions. It's not just left, right, top, bottom, but it has depth. And so any part of the ball through any part of that zone, it may end up in the dirt or way back for the catcher as it came through, but over that plate, in between the knees of the batter and his armpits, that is the strike zone. And we love strikes. And it's the width of the plate, 17 inches, but any part of the ball, that ball is almost 3 inches across. And so that adds about 3 inches on either side. So that 17 inches becomes 23 inches across, and then that height. And so basically, if they can swing at it and hit it, then we're going to get a strike for it. And we like that umpire getting it. I'm going to turn it back over to Jim, and we're going to talk about some more about batting, check swing, and a few other things.
Yeah. And Mark, I'll let you handle Ryan and Gabriel's questions in the chat.
Well, there's long questions
They
here.
are. I left them for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to start by watching some videos of the things that Mark just described. One thing that isn't in the rule book is a check swing.
And on the mound. Check swing, he went. Don't even need to appeal. The home plate umpire, Mark Ruley, rings.
Yeah, there's nothing in the rule book that says what the definition of a check swing is. So at least in Little League, it's umpire judgment. And it's generally when the batter breaks their wrists or the bat head passes in front of the plate. In Major League Baseball, they've got, a more defined definition of what a check swing is. Now, we're not going to try to teach this to you and impose it in Little League. Just if you see something where the batter has broke his wrists or the bat head's in front of the plate, it's your judgment. And coaches cannot argue judgment calls. They cannot argue balls and strikes.
Yeah, they may not like them, but they're not allowed to argue them.
Yeah. And the strike zone is between the armpits and the top of the knees, as Mark mentioned a bit ago, no matter how they stand in the batter's box. And I love extreme examples because this is about as extreme you can get on trying to make your profile small.
Sati, as they call him, tried to run his first time to the first baseman, and now he is sitting down, and that's a strike regardless of your stance.
Yeah, I mean, that pitch, when it crossed over the plate, was above his helmet, but it was certainly in the middle of the strike zone. It's a good job by the umpire. It's also a strike when the pitch touches a batter if the batter strikes at or offers at the pitch.
Only 8 Ks for this team, so I think he did, didn't he? And even if it does hit him, if he offers that, it doesn't matter.
Right. So that's a legal bunt attempt. Mark described, part of the definition of the bunt is, making an offer at the pitch. He did. Make sure you go on mute, everybody, please. So he did not pull back. He didn't even hold the bat still. He was moving the bat in the direction of the ball, so he's offering at the pitch. And so even if it hits him, and it is hitting his arm here, that's a strike. He does not get first base for it, hit by pitch. A batter must also make an attempt to avoid being touched by a pitch. This is hard to enforce if the batter just stands there and the pitch goes inside the box. But certainly a batter cannot move towards the pitch. And you, as the plate umpire, need to be monitoring that and looking for actions of the batter where he's moving his body in the direction of the ball. Let's see a couple good videos on this.
After 30 games. Yeah, well, he didn't try to get out of the way. Yeah, they're going to keep him right there. Let's watch him move his leg right into it. Yep. I want to get hit with it. It's a good call by the umpire. Percent of the runners that get sacrificed on this team end up scoring and help them out. Listen to the home plate umpire.
Watch the camera, losing the baseball.
That's the best look at it. That's perfect.
Great call by Scott Klein.
You get back here. No.
I like those videos because they're giving shout outs to the umpires at the end, but they're also good videos. They clearly illustrate Jock Peterson in the first one moving his leg in the direction of the pitch, and this batter from Coastal Carolina with the ump cam, you can easily see him moving his arm in the direction of the pitch. And the kids are wearing the arm guards a lot now, and so they're taking some more leeway in maybe moving towards the pitch. So just be aware of it. An uncaught third strike. This is in the majors division and above. It does not apply in the minors. Batter becomes a runner on an uncaught third strike, provided first base is not occupied and or first base is occupied with 2 outs. The batter may advance to first base anytime before entering the dugout or any other dead ball area. Pretty much the dugouts on all of our fields, the dugouts are the start of dead ball territory. So if they're walking towards the dugout and realize the ball is rolling around on the ground, they can still try to get to first base. Let's watch a video on this. So one thing that you got to start thinking about as an umpire also is your kind of pre-pitch preparation. You always want to be running through your mind, where are the runners at? Do I have a runner on first base? How many outs are there? Is there a runner on third base? Knowing this, a runner on third base, especially with drop third strike, well, that runner may try to score as well. So in this situation, we have a runner on second and 1 out.
Well, that's a way. It's a swing and a miss. He will be able to go down to third. There's no advancement.
Yeah. Yeah, he can try to get down there to first. If he had beaten that throw, he would have been allowed to stay at first base. All right, we have our first vote of the night. Our situation here is a runner on first and a runner on third and no outs. All right, let's see what we got.
In the dirt, Notmeyer swings.
All right. Let me try to get rid of that. I'm sorry, I'm getting a window that's misbehaving here.
All right, so we're going to do a
Get out of the way.
quiz. You can see the answers that are possible. Or no, you don't see the answers yet, so we need to get those on.
Yeah. One second. I've got a, there we go. All right. Sorry, it froze on me. Now we're good.
All right. So Jim, want to go over the choices? Then I'll put up the quiz for him.
Yeah. So remember, we have runners on first and third. That was our situation. Ball not caught. Batters out automatically because first base is occupied with less than two outs. It's a live ball, and the runners on first and third may try to advance. B is the runners out automatically because first base is occupied with less than two outs. It's a dead ball, and the runners on first and third may not try to advance. And C, the batter may attempt to reach first base safely because, hey, the ball was dropped on a third strike. Those are our three choices.
All right. So go ahead and vote out there. There are 57 people in the room, so we'll see how many folks we can get out there. Or 55, I should say.
And by the way, please don't put your answers in the chat.
Yeah,
Just
just use the poll feature.
use the poll.
All right, we're gonna end it and we're gonna share the results.
Yeah.
So,
All right. Looks pretty good. A is the answer. And that's what we had about, looks like a little over two-thirds of the participants chose answer A. So good job, everybody. All right. A foul tip. It's a batted ball that is moved sharp and direct to the catcher's hands or mitt, and it's legally caught by the catcher. It's not a rebound unless first hitting the catcher's glove or hand. So that's the first thing the ball has to contact is a hand or a glove. If it then goes up in the air and doesn't touch anything else, then it could still be caught for a foul tip caught. It's a live ball. That's the difference between this and a foul is that this is a live ball. The runners may try to advance. So you as an umpire, you want to treat it as a swinging strike. And if you're at the clinics, you know that you don't give a verbal on this. You're just giving a mechanic, as the umpire pictured here does, of swiping your right hand across your left and up. If the foul tip is a third strike, the batter is out. So there's some videos on foul tips. Now, umpires, not only do we use our eyes, or we use our ears as well. We use our ears, for listening for foul tips for sure. Let's listen to these.
Thanks. Doesn't get that out of him. 1 ball, 1 strike. Not to play it in the 8th inning. And fouls it into the glove. He loved. Best flies by him.
Yeah, some of those mechanics on the umpires in terms of that signaling of the foul tip was less than perfect, but hey, you can hear the ball off the bat, that little click, and then the catch by the catcher, it's a thud. So listen for both of those. Once again, it's a live ball. All right, a fair ball is a batted ball. There's a lot of different things here. It settles on fair ground, or is touched in fair territory. It could then go out of fair territory, and it's still a fair ball. It bounds past first or third base on or over fair territory. It touches an umpire or player while fair. It's in flight, fair, out of the playing field. Think of that as a home run. It's in between the foul poles and in flight, fair, out of the playing field. A ground rule double would be same thing. Bat a ball that first hits first, second, or third base. And we'll talk about the double first base, but there is a white portion of the double first base that's in fair territory. A bat a ball that hits that, even if it then ricochets out of bounds, is a fair ball. Now, foul ball, on the other hand, it settles in foul territory between home and first base or between home and third base. It bounced past first or third base on or over the foul territory. It first falls on foul territory between first or third. It's touched on or over foul territory. That's why you oftentimes see the coach yelling at the catcher on that dribbler up the line, touch it, touch it, touch it, as soon as it gets to the foul territory. It touches any object foreign to the natural ground on or over foul territory. That's the backstop, the overhang, if your field has one. The batter is a foreign object natural to the ground as long as they're in the batter's box still. Uh, and a batted ball that hits the colored portion of the double first base. So the colored portion of the double first base is always in foul territory. All right, so it's the status of the ball that's most important. So in the picture on the left, you've got a player where his left foot is in foul territory and the ball is in fair territory. This is looking from home down the first base line, and that ball is in fair territory. So that is, we'll say that that's a fair ball. In the second picture, the player is completely has his feet in both left and right in fair territory, and he's touching the ball over foul territory. So that has a good chance of being a foul ball. I say good chance because if it had bounded over first base, then it could that could still be a fair ball. So, and some of those clarifying, definitions we just saw in the previous slide.
Yeah. And just to interject, one thing that Little League is really looking for is when you're calling fair foul, have your belt buckle on the line so that you can really see where the ball is. So find that line, get on it, and be ready to make that fair foul call.
All right. So we're gonna do some votes on some fair fouls. I found some new ones this year, so let's roll with these. Let's see what they're like. All right.
Spun back. Watch. This is pretty crazy. So watch the. Gonna catch the. Oh no! What is that? A rock?
Okay. We got a wicked little ball, starts in foul territory, little curve on it, and it winds up in fair territory between home plate and third base. Sorry about that. Is that fair or foul? Simple, A or B. Mark will get the poll up.
There it is. All right. A lot of people voting, so get your vote in. All right. And here are the results of what people thought.
Great. Yeah, people nailed it. Yeah, that is a fair ball. It started off in fair foul territory, and because of that nasty curve on that ball, it wound up arcing back into fair territory. That's why, as an umpire, you want to make sure that if you see that ball in foul territory and if it's still moving, do not call foul ball because you never know. It may hit a pebble or something and ricochet into fair territory, in which case it's a fair ball. Good job on that one. All right, we got another one here.
Going on right now. You got a lot going on underneath there, and when he lets it rip, he lets it rip. So there's a lot of force coming. No good sell. We'll look at the sell back there by JR.
All right. Our vote. That's a caught foul tip. Batter's out on strike three, and the runners can advance since the ball is live. Batter's out on a caught foul ball. No runners are allowed to advance since the ball is dead. Plus, the catcher is showing everybody there's one out. And C is foul ball. Count remains 1 ball, 2 strikes. Mark will put up the poll.
All right, we've got 72%, 74% have voted, and here are the results. Pretty evenly split across the
Yeah,
three
it is
choices.
pretty evenly split. A lot of people thought A on that one, thinking that we have a caught foul tip. It's actually the answer is C. And uh, let me let me go back here. I think that's worth playing again if I can.
Going on right now, you got a lot going on underneath there. And when he lets it rip, he lets it rip. So there's a lot of force coming. No good sell. We'll look at the sell back there by JR.
Uh, so the key is a foul tip that's sharp and direct, but it did not go to his hand or his glove. He did not catch it. He caught it between his leg and his body. That's a foul ball. At that point, it's hit something foreign to the ground in foul territory. Uh, so that's why C is the correct answer. Once again, C is just a foul ball. The count remains 1 ball, 2 strikes. All right, our third one.
There you go.
All right. I want you to assume that that ball has touched the batter's toe in the box. So is it fair or is it foul? Mark will put up the poll.
And let's see. Oh, hold on. Okay, there we go. Fair or foul?
Yeah,
And here are the results.
great. Everybody it looks like nailed this one. Good job. Yeah, it's a foul ball. And the one thing is sometimes the plate umpire may be screened out, may not see the batted ball that touches the batter's body. And if you're the base umpire, you're supposed to be looking at every pitch because you're the backup on that. You can call the foul ball off the batter's body if the plate umpire has been screened out or maybe they didn't see it. So, okay. Mark's gonna talk to us about a catch.
Yep. So this is pretty important, right? What qualifies as a catch? Because that's one of the ways to get outs. And this is a famous picture. That's Willie Mays catching a ball over his shoulder. But you want to think about, does the defensive player have secure possession of the ball in the hand or glove? Are they holding it long enough to prove complete control of the ball? So the important word there is control. And then the release of the ball is voluntary and intentional. So it's not a catch if they collide with another player or the wall or they fall down and the ball comes out involuntarily, right? So we're looking for them if the ball's going to come out. They were reaching in their glove to try to make the exchange to make that throw, but they need to hold on to it all the way to the ground to make sure that they are demonstrating control of it. So it can also, um, if they touch the fly ball and then it hits somebody from the offense or an umpire, um, if it's still in flight and then it's caught by another defensive player, but if it's hit somebody else in between, then it's not a catch. All right, so we're looking for a ball that remains in flight. So we're going to vote on this, catch or no catch. Watch watch the video.
Towards center field, dropping. Good catch.
Okay, watch it again. It's in his glove, glove's under it, and then he's reaching in. And let's vote. If it's a catch, you say A. If it is not a catch in your judgment, say B. And some of these are, kind of had to be there, and it's going to be umpire judgment. It's not definitive. Everybody's going to have a little bit different eye on it, but we're looking at 34 out of 45 have said yes, that is a catch, and that batter should be out on that play. And it looked like, that ball didn't come out until he was reaching in to make that exchange. But, it's tough. All right, we're going to go over the dead ball area. So this is places where if the ball goes there or if player goes there, they're out of play. We're going to call time, kill it, and things can no longer happen part of the game. So beyond the fence, sometimes fields have a chalk line or a rope marking the edges. Over at Sunnyvale Little League, they don't have fences along the sides, so they have a chalk line or it's marked by cones. So if it goes past that line, it's going to be out of play. If it goes into the stands or the bleachers, if it goes into the dugout, we don't generally have media areas on our fields, but at the regional games, there are camera wells and things that are designated as out of play area. And all of this would be covered in the pregame conference or at the plate meeting so that everybody is clear on when a ball is out of play. So the most common one we have around here is like a dugout opening. And if the ball goes into that dugout opening, time bases are going to be awarded. But you can also have a ball that gets lodged in a fence or in the umpire's equipment or the catcher's equipment. You've seen a ball like end up in the pitcher's or the umpire's ball bag. It can no longer be played upon there, and so you're going to call time and you're going to award the bases that needs to go. We talk about there used to be a rule in Little League called catch and carry, where if you caught the ball in live ball territory and then you went into dead ball territory, the different things happen. But now it's black and white. If you are in dead ball territory, the ball is out of play. But you can catch it in live territory and go into dead ball territory, and it can be a catch for the purposes of getting it out if you caught it in live ball territory, but then you subsequently fell into the stands or crossed over the line, then bases are going to be awarded if there are base runners in that situation. So
Yeah,
go ahead,
Mark.
Jim.
We're getting a lot of chatter in the chat that has nothing to do with umpiring and questions about umpiring. So please, everybody, only ask questions related to umpiring content so we can see it easily and respond to it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, continuing on. And so we have this, is this our question?
I got to get the video going. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
1 second.
Yeah, you have to realize that these are very large files and with all the video, and sometimes they don't behave correctly. So here's our dead ball area. Now we're going to talk about a tag, right? So when you are making a tag on a runner, fielder touching a base with the body while holding the ball securely and firmly in the hand or glove. So that is one definition of a tag. That could be on a force play, right? You just have to have the ball in your hand or glove, and any part of your body can touch that base. And if you do that before the runner arrives, you have successfully had a force play. Or a tag can be defined as touching a runner while holding the ball securely and firmly in the hand or glove. And that has to be the hand or glove that is touching the runner. So if you have it in your other hand and you reach out to tag them with your empty hand, that is not a tag. So it's very important for the umpire to know the status of the ball at all times, because you see sometimes the fielder will get mixed up. Where's the ball? Am I touching him with the right thing? So, and then an important thing on a catch of a thrown ball, the intentional and voluntary release of the ball is not a requirement. So for a force play, for instance, at first base, if that ball is securely in the fielder's possession before the runner touches the base and then subsequently gets knocked out, then that's different than the kind of requirement for the catch of a ball on a batted ball. That's needs the intentional and voluntary release portion of the definition of a catch. So he's got the ball under his armpit. Is that a catch? No, because it's not securely held in his hand or glove. Now the ball's still in flight, right? It hasn't hit the ground, so he could reach up with his hand or glove and grab it, and then it would become a catch. But right now, that is not a catch. All right, we're going to talk about the infield fly. And this is something that is preventing the defense from getting a cheap double play. It's a fair fly ball. It's not a line drive. It's not a bunt. There need to be less than 2 outs because we're preventing a double play. So that doesn't matter with 2 outs. We want to have runners at first and second or first, second, and third. And we're looking for an infielder who can catch the ball with ordinary effort. Whether or not they actually catch it, it is ruled an infield fly while it's still in flight, hopefully at about the apex, its highest point as it's coming down. Ordinary effort's going to be different at minors than it would be at seniors or majors. So you want to give the leeway to the division of play, but it's at the division of play. It's not for an individual player. So if you have somebody that is playing in majors but just isn't a very good player and they you don't think they can get to it, it's what ordinary effort would be at that level of play. Regardless, the ball is live and runners may advance at their own risk. But we have a little more information about the infield fly as it's coming along, I think. Or no, we have examples. But let me say one more thing is that if it is caught, then the base runners need to tag up. If it's not caught, they're not required. At any point, people can advance at their own risk. But the important thing is we say infield fly, batter is out. And what happens is the force is removed. And so players don't have to run anymore and they can advance at their own peril. So now we have a video that is going to show that. We've got bases loaded, only one out. Up was there. Yeah, let's.
Bases loaded, one out. Here's the pitch. Bond swings and hits a pop up out in front of the plate. Out goes the catcher Barrett. They end up letting the ball drop, but Nathan Perez better just cross the plate. He's standing away from the plate and he tags the plate and he scores. The Expos did not know the rule. Now Aurelia goes to second base and over to third goes Grissom. I don't think the plate umpire Joyce called him safe, and that's how the Giants tie this game. With the bases loaded and one out, when Bonds hit the pop-up, the infield fly rule was called, meaning Bonds was immediately out. The runners move up at their own risk.
Okay, so what happens on an infield fly? The batter is out, so the force is removed. So him just stepping on the plate with the ball, thinking he has a force out, it's no longer a force. He has to tag that runner. And so the umpire just stood there, watched for the runner to safely touch the plate, even though they already thought they had got a force, but the force was out. So Barry Bonds was out, and everybody else was free to run at their own peril, and they did. They tied the game. So rules knowledge is important for players, for coaches, but especially for umpires, so that you can make that call. And these are major league players who don't understand the infield fly rule. So they should have come to more umpire clinics.
Yeah. Hey, Mark, we have a couple of questions in the chat related to
Yeah.
infield fly. One is from Eaton. He asked when are players allowed to start tagging up if an infield fly drops? Well, they don't have to tag up in advance. They advance at their own peril. But if the infield fly is caught, they would still need to tag up. So once the ball is caught or it falls to the ground, that's when they can advance. The other question is if an infield fly is in effect, but no fielder catches it, it's still an infield fly. As we saw in the video, yes, yes, it's still an infield fly. The batter is out automatically.
Yes.
There's another set of questions that is going on about, not related to this. So, Mark, do you have anything else you want to say about infield fly?
Yeah, one other thing is that if the ball is near the line, it can only be an infield fly if it's a fair ball. So if it is caught, but it's in foul territory, that's just a caught foul ball, treated like any other caught foul where the runners can tag up and advance. But if that ball drops and it becomes a foul ball, then the infield fly is waved off. The batter's not out, and it's just a foul ball goes against their strikes or their count, and they would come back up and get a chance to try again. So if it's an ordinary infield fly, you're going to point up and you're going to say infield fly, batter's out. If it's near the line, you're going to say infield fly if fair. And then if it becomes a foul ball, then it's not an infield fly. But if it remains fair, like if it's touched or settles in fair territory, even if it's not caught, you're still going to have the infield fly in that situation.
So there's a question about if what is if a player is saying something bad to you. We're going to hold off on that. We're going to get through the rest of our content. We don't have much right now to get through. We're almost done. So we're going to handle that and questions about where this content will be and how you get access to it afterwards. We'll do that at the end.
Yep.
So let's move on to the double first base. I know West Side Little League is using the colored first base this year, and there may be other leagues that are using it. It's an option for leagues. The white portion is in fair territory. The colored portion is in foul territory. So this picture shows that the player's foot that's on the right, he's looks like it's first base. It's obviously it's first base because it's a double first base. And then the colored portion is in foul territory. Now, if a play is being made on the batter runner, when they're attempting to reach first base, the defense has to use the white section of the base. The batter runner must touch the colored section of the base. So in that, the batter runner, if their foot is straddling the colored section and the white, that is okay.
Sunnyvale is apparently using.
I'm not sure what that was, but the batter runner can touch a little of both, but they have to at least touch a piece of the colored section. The defense has to use the white section of the base only. And this is for safety. This is hoping to eliminate crashes that wind up with injured players. So it's the reason for it. If the batter runner touches only the white portion of the bag, then the defense can appeal before the batter returns to the base and the batter's called out. So they have to do an appeal. The batter runner comes back and touches the base, returns to the white portion of the base at this point, then they're safe. When there's no chance for a play to be made on the batter runner at first base, the batter runner may use either side of the base. So think of this as he's got a double in the gap. So he's going to round it and he can touch either the colored portion or the white portion. If the batter runner reaches and goes beyond first base, they may only return to the white section of the base. This is, he rounds, takes a few steps back, and then he comes back to the base. At that point, he can only use the white portion of the bag. And when tagging up on a fly ball, they must use only the white portion of the bag. If they're on the colored section, then they can be out on a proper peel. Think of it as leaving early. Now, there's a special situation where the batter runner and the defensive player can use either side, and that's on a drop third strike. In that case, the defender may be setting up on the colored section, in which case the batter runner should be trying to use the white section. So here's a play being made on a batter runner at first base.
And get to 2 strikes. That shows bunt. Gets it down first base side. Coming in to score, Angel Laya. Flip to first in time to get him.
There we go. Clearly you can see, well, I know it's a bit fuzzy, but you can see the batter runner using the colored portion.
He's off the base. Yes.
Now, there's not a whole lot of video on this because use of the double first base isn't common yet in Little League. It's required in college. So there's some more video in college on this. But in this situation, this is a pickoff play. That runner had already achieved first base. At that point, he's only allowed to use first base. And even though you can't see it clear from that angle, he came back only to the colored section of the bag. He eventually moved his toe over to the white portion of the bag, but he was called out. There are a number of local league rule options. The continuous batting order versus the traditional bat 9. Most leagues are using continuous batting order in majors and in fact pretty much in every level of play. The mercy rule, the league may choose to not adopt the following. So they have to put it in their bylaws, I think. And that is that majors and below, it's 15 runs after 3 innings, 10 runs after 4, and 8 runs after 5. And just add an inning in to each of those for intermediate juniors and seniors. The other local league option is the batter must remain in the box with at least 1 foot throughout the at-bat. There's a long exception list to that. Regardless of what the local league has, me as an umpire, I'm trying to keep the batter in the box anyway, as much as I can. So I'm telling them to keep a foot in the box unless they have one of those things on the exception list. So look at the rule book or the Little League rule app. And the other league option is that uncut third strike is not an out in majors. So they have to adopt that. For the most part, I think no league has taken that as an option. And that's our content. So we've covered a lot tonight. So we've covered the new rules, the equipment requirements, what is a pitch and what are the requirements for pitchers. Talked a lot about batting, including the differences or using a continuous batting order and the legal position in the batter's box. We covered balls, strikes, foul ball, foul tip, intentional walk, a bunt, a fair ball, a foul ball, a catch, and no catch, infield fly, double first base, and local league options. So that's a lot of content. We pick it up again tomorrow night, same time, and we're going to cover a lot of additional new stuff. It's not a repeat of tonight. This is all new stuff. We're going to talk about runners. What's the baseline and runners interference and runners leaving early. Base awards for balls thrown out of play. Interference. There's a lot of different interference options in baseball. There's runners interference, batters interference, catchers interference. There's two types of obstruction. Type A, where a play is being made on a runner or a batter runner before they touch first base, or type B, where there's no play being made on the runner. We're going to talk about slides or attempting to go around, appeals and how they should be properly executed, and we'll cover game management. A lot to cover in night 2. And I think that's it. Mark, anything you want to add here?
Yeah, so to answer a couple of the questions, so I have recorded this and it will be processed and then we'll post it on a YouTube channel, but put the link to that on the District 44 website. So that's www.cad44.org, and then click on the umpiring tab, and there will be recordings. Kevin Kelly from our district board will post it there, that link, but give it a couple of days to make sure that everything is up and going, and we'll have the recordings from both nights. They'll be there as a playlist so you can listen to both of them. For tomorrow night, use the same Zoom link and we'll be here again. We'll have the same thing, but it'll be all new content, and we'll cover all of that. There were some questions about ejections. It seems like some people are excited about maybe getting to eject people. If you are a youth, if you're under 18, you're going to have either an adult partner on the field with you, or you're going to have an adult game coordinator that is going to be there. And those are the people that are allowed to do ejections. And we'll talk about game coordinators tomorrow night. But just know that we're not asking youth umpires to eject. That being said, youth umpires are umpires and they deserve the respect of everyone, and they need to have their calls listened to. And if there is a problem with that, there will be consequences. We can talk to board members. We can make sure that we provide a good environment for our youth umpires to be able to make their calls and have people respect those calls, and the game goes on. So we're gonna be working on that. So what we're gonna do is we'll stop sharing content. We'll put it up. Jim and I will stay on if there are some people that want to ask questions either in the chat or come off mute and ask them. We'll stick around for a few minutes, but otherwise, we'll see everyone tomorrow night. I'm going to stop the recording, and we'll see you all tomorrow night, 7
Thank you.
p.m.
Yeah, hey, there was a question in the chat about